Earlier this week, the federal government rolled out a new recruiting effort. They're offering $50,000 signing bonuses, student loan forgiveness, and enhanced retirement benefits as they try to entice 10,000 new agents to join ICE's ranks. Their mission, according to the DHS press release, is to target the worst of the worst.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network. You heard that right, targeting the worst of the worst. I am sure that the writers of that story meant to refer to the supposed violent criminals that ICE is rounding up. Never mind the fact that the vast majority of those now being kidnapped are peaceful and law-abiding. The thing that stuck out to me was the accidental suggestion that maybe it is ICE's recruiting campaign that is targeting the worst of the worst. What do you think is about to happen to hiring standards at ICE? Its budget is now bigger than the U.S. Marine Corps', and it has committed to hiring 10,000 new agents. Some of them, I guarantee you, are going to be the worst of the worst. Here's Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, opening those floodgates.
I would tell everybody, go to join.ice.gov and go there and sign up, be a part of this team that is helping make America safe again with President Trump. And the other thing, Lawrence, I would say is we've removed any of the age barriers. We no longer have a cap on how old you can be, or you can continue at age 18, sign up for ICE and join us and be a part of it. We'll get you trained and ready to be equipped to go out on the streets and help protect families.
Think about what kind of person joins ICE these days, knowing that they are going to be ripping families apart, invading peaceful communities where they are not wanted, and being accused every day of serving in America's Gestapo. Unfortunately, I suspect that some of the people now joining ICE will have no problem being called Nazis. Yesterday, I aired part 1 of my interview with Kris Goldsmith, the founder of Veterans Fighting Fascism and America's leading neo-Nazi hunter. We talked about the failure of mainstream media organizations to cover the threat posed by these extremists, some of them who are now in our government. In part 2, Kris and I talk about how the relationship between extremists and our government has changed and how many of them are now welcome. Some are even given badges. Here's our conversation. What is the relationship like now between Donald Trump and these people that he holds at arm's length, but without which he might not be in power, and he certainly wouldn't be able to intimidate. He wouldn't be able to use them as shock troops should he need to, and that's the real long-term existential threat.
Yeah, so the extreme far right, the neo-Nazi types, the white supremacists, we're talking about like the sons of the KKK types. They at first looked at Donald Trump as you know, like the coming of Jesus. Like they could not believe that a man could be so openly racist and win the presidency. They gradually became disillusioned over time because they saw how feckless and idiotic he was and how he couldn't actually implement most of the policies that he tried to. And they really forgot about him and you know, looked at him as, yeah, he was a useless idiot for us back then. You know, after the failed insurrection, they're like, this guy is over, this guy's done. But they have very quickly done a 180 again, now that he's returned to the presidency and he's engaged again, not just in racist, white supremacist policies, but the retribution, the punishment of the perceived enemies, the going after DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure that colleges are whiter, have fewer immigrants, you know, killing studies on the way that people of color and immigrants in the United States have suffered for their identity. They are now looking at him as holy shit. He is doing everything and more than we possibly could have hoped, and they are thrilled. And honestly, you know, we've talked about this in a previous episode. A lot of these extremist organizations, they are almost feeling like they don't have to mobilize anymore because they're looking at what ICE does, and they're just going, "Oh my God, like this is everything that we wanted to happen here in this country." Have people just getting their doors kicked down because they're brown in skin. uh, these extremist organizations are still following Trump and do have the kind of the 2020 era stand back, stand by. Like they're waiting for that kind of thing, and they're still hoping for a civil war, because that's what acceleration is all about. The term acceleration, when ascribed to these extremists, is about accelerating the downfall of democracy, of the government of the United States. And they see Donald Trump doing everything that he can to bring down the government of the United States, its legitimacy, from left and right, from the perspectives of left and right. So everything that he is doing, every way that he fails, is catastrophic for our democracy and is a tremendous victory for the worst of the worst kind of domestic extremists, which, again, the point of this documentary is we have gone from vulnerable to this to exporting it. We are now, we have our own form of ISIS, right? Like ISIS came from the Levant, and it exported extremism, that brand of extremism, around the world. The United States is now doing that with white supremacy.
Hey, it's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break to say thank you to everyone who's been following and supporting this show and this channel. None of it happens without you. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my Substack page, I'd really appreciate the follow. It's a great way to make sure you never miss an episode. It's free to sign up. And if you're able to pitch in a few bucks, every dollar goes back into the show. Just search for The Ken Harbaugh Show on Substack or click the link below. Thanks. I want to build on your observation about ICE and the relationship or the esteem with which these extremist groups hold ICE, because I've been doing a little bit of digging into ICE's expansion plans. Let me just remind the audience that their budget is now bigger than the United States Marine Corps. It's bigger than almost every military's on Earth, and bigger than our own Marine Corps. That's what they have to play with in building up their internal police state Gestapo force. And I'm relating it to the issue of extremism because it's got to make you wonder where they are going to draw their recruits from. I mean, the Border Patrol a few years ago struggled to find a few thousand qualified people and ended up bringing in folks who had rap sheets as long as my arm. I got to believe that ICE is going to lower standards pretty dramatically. And the type of people who want to do that work are going to be the people you research.
Well, we have seen it with the military during the global war on terror. They lowered standards. They started giving tremendous bonuses to get people in the military to go to the troop surges in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? Because those wars became unpopular. And it became very clear that if you go to these wars, there's a very good chance that you're going to, if you come home, physically complete, you're going to leave a piece of you there that is never going to be brought back, right? That is what is going to happen with ICE. In order for ICE to expand its workforce so dramatically, it's not just going to be open to recruiting radical extremists. It's going to be open to recruiting people who are not intelligent and emotionally stable enough to carry a fucking firearm. And that is the scariest thing that we're going to be facing. When this happened in Vietnam during the draft, there were still standards, right? But as the United States military got more and more desperate, they dropped the standards, like fell through the floor. They were inducting people into the military, training them for combat and sending them overseas who do not belong in a workplace because they are disabled. And those people had a life expectancy rating of like a third or less of their colleagues. And not only that, when they were with a platoon, the whole platoon had a lower life expectancy. So how does that manifest if we have idiots, people who do not belong in uniform, going out on ICE raids? We have more people pulling triggers when they shouldn't. And something that folks, at least in Iraq, used to talk about when we used to go out with the Iraqi army, who were terribly undertrained, with the language difference and the cultural differences. It was impossible for us to get these people to train like us and to act like us. And what we would experience is stupid, silly mistakes that a drill sergeant would have snapped out of us instantaneously in basic training, like holding a firearm just by the pistol grip. I would be on patrol and there'd be an Iraqi army guy holding his AK by the pistol grip, and he would accidentally put his finger on the trigger and it would rise up and it would just shoot everywhere. And everyone around would think we're being ambushed, and now they just start shooting. There'd be a death blossom, right? There'd be people just getting, hit with rounds everywhere. And that happened countless times throughout the global war on terror. That is what we're in for when ICE starts recruiting untrained, incompetent people and starts handing out firearms and continues going on these types of raids.
Yeah, well, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Kris, we like to end on a high note. I don't know how to tee this up, man, but it's dark times. You know what? What's Veterans Fighting Fascism up to? Any recent wins?
Yeah, so let's keep it short. So if folks want to watch this documentary, World White Hate, they can find it on YouTube. There's an English version. It's about 80 to 90 minutes. If you want to read about it and my experience being involved in it, you can go to onoffense.substack.com. If you want to support my work, the best way to do it is through Substack. That is direct to me. It supports my family, supports my work. And we are going to be more fully engaged in the nonprofit side when I return from my parental leave. So after Labor Day, Veterans Fighting Fascism, Task Force Butler, we're going to be really cranking things up. So stand by, make sure that you're on our email list. Visit taskforcebutler.org and veteransfightingfascism.org. And final point, the reason I'm here, the reason that I come on this show, the reason that I write, the reason that I run these nonprofits is because I believe we can still win. So as bad as things feel, as bad as things are going to be, Ken and I, we are here to fight. So just don't feel hopeless. I'm not here just to give you bad news. Follow me on Substack. I will give you, every time that I write, something to do to help preserve your democracy.
The link is right below. Thanks, Kris, as always. We'll check again with you next week.
Thank you, Ken.